Hi, everybody, and welcome back. I hope you watched the other previous episodes of this character that I've started, the Mars Attacks character. It's a work in progress. I wanted to kind of do a breakdown or a play-by-play of what I did to create this model, and that's what these videos are. A lot of these shapes are primitive that I start with and just start sculpting from there. I'm starting to create the base on this video, and what I'm doing is using the H polish to kind of give the rock a little more edge to it and just kind of like get a little shape to the definition of that rock. I kind of jump back and forth with brushes sometimes, depending on what I'm trying to achieve. You can see right here I'm using a crumple brush to kind of get a quick stone looking effect. And a lot of these I didn't really go based on texturing at first. I wanted to get the shapes put in the geometry or the model made first before I started texturing. A lot of the rocks I'm just kind of starting with a block, and either I duplicate it and kind of work from there and keep adding to it, or go into a different shape. You can see that I'm kind of playing with the shape of the rock. This is a fun part. I like doing kind of organic parts of nature, and for this base, you know, pieces of these, I don't know if you would call that nature, but it's a stone, but still it's a organic type piece. It's not so hard. Looks like I'm about to use some of the alpha brushes to kind of give it a little more stony look to it. And a lot of this is just kind of like giving it a little base to kind of get an idea of what I'm going for. Roughing up things, changing it up. The cracks are created from the alpha packs, and you can download these off Pixologic's website. There should be I don't remember what it's called, resources on their site, and you can download them to your computer. It's always good to have those packs. I always carry them around each computer that I need them on for ZBrush, because I always jump back to them. They always help. And usually I just carry that folder and just make a shortcut into the directory of ZBrush. So you can see I kind of like kept up pretty low res. A lot of the blocking out. Trying to get an idea. I know when I first started this model, I was kind of trying to get a feel for what I wanted to see. Destruction, stones, kind of like a city type environment with rubble and everything else around them. The cinder block and stuff. I think that's what those are called. But you can see that I'm adding stones, little cracks to them to kind of get it put in place to kind of tell the story of what I want to show. And yeah, this is kind of the fun part, but at the same time, you get lost in it. You just want to keep sculpting and modeling and pushing and pulling and adding more here and there. That piece right there, I kind of went back and forth between to try to get like a little more definition, but it seemed to work whatever I ended up in the end of it. So you can see the base, I'm just kind of using different techniques. It's gonna have rocks. I'm not sure if this video has it. We'll find out in a little bit, but I'm using the little I guess nano mesh to spread them out, the stones in a bit. Let's see this beam. So you can see that I kind of put some little details there to start with, but I go back and put little rocks everywhere. So this is probably where I do that. Yeah, I do. So what it is I'm creating a mask, and what the process is, I'm going to extract that geometry out, and I'm going to retopologize it so that I can have like even quads to actually put placement of rocks. And so I just kind of dropped the resolution with the Z remeasure. And this allows me to use the nano mesh to put a lot of little stones and kind of vary it up to kind of give a little more texture to the ground. I wanted to have that, just destruction and rubble and stones and rocks. And so this is one of those processes. So you can see right here, I got the, what happened is I'm kind of trying to see, because if you don't use the technique enough, you have to go back. And that's what these stones are, I guess, made for. So yeah, this is a play-by-play, so I'm not going to memorize everything that I did. And sometimes I'm kind of like remembering what I did to try to get where I need to be. So those first 2 stones are in there. I created those to be as the nano mesh model. And so trying to refresh. If you hold shift, I believe it'll show it on every one. If you hold individually, wait, shift will do a new one, I believe, after the other one. So there's the thing about ZBrush is that there's a lot of hotkeys that are kind of hidden inside of using certain brushes or just the drop down window. There's little things here and there that if you didn't kind of educate yourself on it, that it would be a little difficult to try to figure out on your own, unless you had somebody helping you and to tell you pretty much where to go. But that's part of just the education of it, and it's fun to learn, fun learning part. So here I'm trying to get some rocks and vary them up and trying to get randomization, and this is something that I don't normally do. I don't usually use the nano mesh, but on this model I really wanted to try out some different techniques that I've been seeing on videos and stuff, and this was something that actually came in handy. I actually liked doing it, and even to now, this is probably almost 8 months since I did this video, or did the model, or this video, and it's been a while. I got a lot of knowledge from it, so I've been using techniques from here into other things too. So when I do go in ZBrush, I memorize that this nano mesh is very useful. It's very helpful, and so I'm trying to vary it up and trying to get like big rock, little rock, and give it some kind of that feeling right there. And then you could always paint them, and once you create the mesh, you can give them like their own little textures and stuff to kind of vary it. And that's what's fun about it, is that you can kind of get that randomization, that you're not too worried. I'm not going to go unwrap each one of these stones. In here is just, I'm just going to use whatever it is to paint them and get it in there. And that seemed to work. But you can see that, the extraction, Z-remesh it, and then using the nano mesh kind of comes in handy for something like this. So for instance, you had twigs and rocks and stuff, and you would have put it on like a forest floor. This technique could probably come in handy. It's always good to cut corners and save time instead of individually placing these how you would probably do them in another program like 3D Max or something else, or you would probably use a scatter tool. Hopefully you would use a plugin or something to make your your job easier or task easier. But in every program, there's always those little tricks here and there. You can see how dense the stones are. I think I do kind of Z-remesh them to kind of give them a little bit, not be so heavy, because really you're not going to zoom in on them unless I really wanted you to see those, and I just want them to be kind of like filler for your eye when you look at it. It's not really much to them when you look at it. And it started from those first 2 rocks in the beginning of this video, and then you place them in and you got little stones everywhere, little pebbles. Yeah, I do Z-remesh it, and so the memory is coming back to what I did do on this project. and I'm waiting for the machine. And even this is sped up, so I guess it took a little while in the beginning of it, and then it's like and it went fully. So that's a little bit of that process, getting it there. That silhouette on the corner, I started to use more and more because it gives you like a sense of um, shape and form, and that's always good to have. That beam that's sticking behind him, I was trying to make sure that it didn't look too like you should be able to read it from a distance, depending on my camera view, but I wanted it to be like a readable subject and not too questionable what's going on. So that's how I use that off and on in this, and I'm happy with how that works. It's a pretty cool little tool in the corner. See where we go next. So it looks like I'm gonna get to the, your surface noises. I wanted to give the ground a little bit texture, it looks like, and this is always a quick process to get there. Yeah, I used them on the rocks. I also thought I used them on that ground base too. That's probably what I did first, but those rocks it buried each one of them up individually, and so you get even more unique variation between them, so they're not all similar to one another. So that's pretty cool. That helps out, and you can see from a distance. You're not going to zoom in on the model, so it doesn't really matter. It's just there, and that's what's cool about it. The beam, I wanted to kind of give it a little character, not so perfect and not so laser or something. I had to hit it or something. And here I'm just trying to give some little bit of character. I thought I'd soften the edges of it later on. I might deform it, I think, later, and then just kind of give it a little more like it got dented on the edges. But just those little bit of dents and details and stuff that you put in, that all adds up. That all kind of gives more to process your image to make it look a little more natural. And it's fun. It's just fun to do. And right here you can see that I'm trying to get that dynamics going on the edge. So I'm trying to get it softer so I can actually start not making it so hard edged, because when you get hard edges in ZBrush or any computer program, it looks computer generated, and the more you can rough it up or make it just a little more chaotic, gives that little more realism, I think, to it, because the computer gets you only so far, and the rest is get those little dings and scratches and edges, soften them up, give it to tell a story. What happened? That thing probably fell and hit everything down until it hit the ground, so it probably got dinged up all the way down wherever it fell from, or whatever happened. But what you're trying to do is tell a story, and that's what I wanted to do here, is try to tell a story. A lot of times it's those little details that help tell your story too, even though it's small and you're never going to see it probably, but those help. Even in whenever we do renderings for ArchViz, and putting little things like cables or wall socket or something like that helps. And so it all tells a story, because if you don't, your eyes used to seeing stuff like that, and if you don't see something that you're used to seeing, then something doesn't seem right. And so That's why I always try to include everything that you can see or your brain will process. So just trying to help it along. Putting these little bolts just so that it can show that, like, it was supported by something. I could have probably done more details to that area, but this is just more of a playful kind of thing. And, seems to work for what I needed it for. You can see it, you get the idea that, there's detail there. Looks like the ambient occlusion is turned on pretty heavy, but I'm just trying to get things straightened out on here. Oh, what was that? Sorry for something. Did it crash? Who knows? Probably saved where I was at. It looked like it said sorry for unexpected error, and then I think I got whatever the auto back or the recovery. That always comes in handy. Whenever you think you lost something, I think ZBrush is probably one of the better softwares out there that recover your stuff if it crashes. Other software I've not had as much. Well, they're getting better. I guess in the beginning it was always kind of scary, but now software's getting a little bit better. The ZBrush does a good job of just backing up your stuff as you go. Unless you turn that off, and then you're just going to probably just risk it. Right here I'm trying to do the little beams, the little meshes that are inside of most of these concrete. And you can see that I use the pattern, the off and on pattern, to extrude it out. That way, your poly group, and to get that little extra detail in there, the kind of little rivets, smooth it up. That way it looks a little more characterized. I just want to sticking out, just kind of like little, like it was exposed from there. But they're just to add a little character to this. And I'm trying to deform it with the deformers and stuff to kind of bend them left and right, and to kind of make it look like something hit them. And those things are pretty strong, but if you can bend them, then cool. Something heavy. Like, again, it comes back to the story of telling what's going on here. At something destructed these things. So, and these deformers are real fun to use because you can just kind of like make it look like something like actually bent them and stuff. I don't want to keep me crooked, but putting a little twist on it and stuff. I'm just playing with different ones just to see if I can get some unique, interesting looks with them. But I think I keep going back to this straight up basic deformer of adding segments and moving it around. And then here you see I just dropped everything. It says, you know what? I'm just gonna use the move to topological brush and go from there. Sometimes it's like, hey, these deformers are cool, but this one brush will just do it instantly. And so, back and forth. There's no right way or wrong way. It's just whatever works, whatever floats your boat. And so you can see I went back to it, but I wanted to get that bend. I wanted to bend it and make it look like it was pushed out of the way, maybe melted. Who knows? It's all about that story. See, I did a slice cut, make it look like it was cut. And also, when you look at the composition on the top left, you want it to read a little bit. So, trying to get these in place. And then after that, I kind of sculpt that stone below it to try to make them look a little more integrated with each other, like the little cracks and details. But you can see I'm just kind of pushing them through the concrete to make them look a little more integrated, or a little part of the scene. I'm just trying to tell that story. And that's what most of this is just trying to tell a story about what happened. And so you can see right here, I'm just chiseling away the rock to make it look like it was exposed, and whatever happened or hit it or zapped it, or just having fun with it, really. this whole model was real fun process. It was a good learning experience. On top of that, it was just fun in general. I haven't watched the movie in a long time. I probably should go back and just watch the Mars Attacks video movie, or try to find the Blu-ray or something. It was always a funny, odd movie. So you can see most of what I got for today was getting the nano mesh on the ground, adding the little wire, what do you call those, beams, coming out of the concrete. And most of it now is just kind of adding those little details, the cracks and the edges, and just using the brushes to form stuff and paint stuff out and get it look a little more natural with the scene. And the alien just kind of there with his gun. A lot of this is just massaging the model to make it look, character. Give it character. That's what I'm doing. And you can see I jump around because sometimes I feel like if I stay in one spot too long, it's cool, but at the same time I just want to move around to kind of get the momentum going, not be stuck in one place. And then when I get fixed on a spot where you have some momentum, then just stick with it and go with that. But I feel like sometimes jumping around will kind of give me a little more fuel to the flame, not be burnt out by doing the one spot, and keeping it interesting. That's always good. And you can see I jump from the beam to the concrete to the ground, and this whole video is kind of everywhere. I think I'm just trying to get to the end and trying to get to a final result, and that's what's happening here. Slice this stuff up. It's digital putty. You can't go wrong with just cutting something up and mauling on it. And if you mess up, just either add to it, fix it, or start over, or just go back in your undo history for the model and start back where you were happy. Or even pull up the older mesh from another, your older saved versions. I hope you're saving either incrementally or whatever. It depends on how you work. Some people just I've seen people where they'll have like one file and then just save that one, and I'm like, oh, what happens if that gets corrupted? I've had too many times where a file gets corrupted and then just been burned. So I always save, version 1, 2, 3, 4, and until I get to version 20. I think once you lose your work enough times over a period of years, you learn to save more than one version, just in case. You never know. It's just computers. They're gonna do their own thing too, and so. But you can see adding more of those little alpha maps and just digging through and just finding out what works. And some of these work really good in here, and then you just scale them bigger, smaller, just push and pull, little character here and there. And once I start adding the texturing, you'll start to see that these were just kind of like the base, and then the next part will be the texture to kind of give it a little more character, to give even more variation. And some of those are going to have extra details on those. So yeah, it's coming along in this video, getting more towards the final of whatever I'm doing, getting this base, getting these details. I think of it later on. I do a skull, put it at the base of a alien, just so I can have that, he's not messing around. Again, it comes back to the story. You're trying to tell a story, and the aliens making destruction, and zapping people, leaving skulls behind, and yeah, it's just back and forth. But that's most of this video. I hope you learned something from it. I hope it's a little educational. I always learn something myself whenever I'm doing these videos, and at the same time I'm trying to just add to my mental library of techniques and stuff that I do to make something in here. And it's always fun. The ZBrush can't go wrong. You're always going to have fun with it and either learn something new or create something new or find a new workflow. And then in the end, you're just like, man, I want to do another one, but I want to use that technique here and I can probably knock this out faster. And that's what happens. You just learn little things here and there and you're going. And unless your computer can't handle the geometry, then that's where most of my roadblocks end up. But on top of that, you learn workflows and workarounds, and you're better for it in the end. So, yeah. But yeah, there was all that was sped up, and then you got this. I think we're always running towards trying to get to the rendering part to where you can actually see. Here goes something that happened. That mesh got messed up. So I end up just getting rid of it because I already got the other side and just might as well mirror it. Get that. And I love that you can have a pivot on a point and then just rotate it. Boom, done, fixed. Yeah, place it in there and get it close. Who's gonna zoom in and say, hey, that's a little crooked? I get as close as I can get it, but I could probably done a little bit better job. But for the time's sake, quick fix, done. There you go. There's the render of what I got for today. And I appreciate you watching. I hope you go back and watch the other videos that I created for this character, and maybe there's something in there that can be learned. But other than that, yeah, I'm just adding more details. And it looks like somehow I'm trying to lower geometry or something here. But yeah, look out for my next video. Hopefully I can do it a lot sooner than waiting a couple weeks. But I'll do my best to get another one out. Thanks for watching.